Hello, my name is Susan Bolio. I've been a community member in the Brainerd Lakes area for the last 20 years or so and done work around trauma and healing for the last decade. So we're going to start with a practice. So this one is awareness of the body. We're going to do a bit of a body scan. So inviting you to, again, just like get yourself into a comfortable position. If it feels good to have both feet on the floor, again, have both of your feet on the floor. And just beginning to bring the awareness inward. And we're going to scan through the body a couple different times, but this first time as we scan from the head down to the toes, we're going to tune into sensations of aliveness in the body. And sensations of aliveness might feel like warmth, tingling, expansion, flowing and movement. So just beginning to tune in as you scan from your head all the way down to your toes, noticing sensations of aliveness in the body. And maybe you only notice sensations of aliveness in one really small part of the body, or maybe you can sense it and feel it throughout the whole body. It doesn't really matter, just beginning to tune into, sort of like a radio frequency, tuning into what do the sensations of aliveness feel like in your body. Now we're going to scan through the body another time from the head down to the feet. And this time as we're scanning, we're going to tune into and notice sensations of stress in the body. So maybe noticing contraction, tightness in muscles, cold, sensations of coldness, maybe even discomfort or pain. And I know these sensations can be a little bit more difficult to sit with, but just reminding yourself that these sensations are ways that the body talks to us, gives us really important information. Our bodies do so much for us every day. Can we just tune into the body, noticing these sensations of stress, and listen to the body like we would a good friend? We're not trying to change or shift anything. We're just listening to the body. Maybe taking a slightly deeper inhale, lengthening the exhale a bit as you now bring your awareness to sensations in the body of numbing, numbness, absencing. And what this might look like or feel like is parts of the body that as you tune in, there's sort of nothing there. There's no felt sensation of aliveness or stress. There's just nothingness, or maybe you even feel a sense of numbing. And this too is important information for us that the body is sharing, and perhaps places in the body that have been carrying and storing some of this unprocessed trauma energy. So just again, seeing if we can scan the body with an open and curious mind, noticing where is there numbing, absencing, parts of the body that are hard for us to tune into. Bring our awareness now up into the breath for a few moments, feeling into that expansion and contraction, the wisdom of the body as it breathes itself. And then closing with the grounding breath together. A nice big inhale in through the nose. And a slow exhale out through the mouth. If you had your eyes closed, you can go ahead and open your eyes, bringing yourself back into the space. Thank you for doing that practice with me. So in the previous video, we talked about the power of having new experiences, the importance of having new experiences. And so we talked about how this can help us to wire in new neural pathways in our brains and rewire our nervous systems out of survival back into thriving. And this rewiring impacts the way that we both see and experience the world. And again, we talked about epigenetics and how these new experiences can turn on or turn off genetic code. We also talked about the importance of working with physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energy, and how when we can do this, it helps us to be able to learn how to process and release this trauma energy that's been stuck in our systems, whether it's our bodies, our hearts, our minds, maybe not even just in our lifetime, but literally for generations. And then as we move towards greater wholeness through the healing process, integrating energy, repairing ruptures with ourselves, with others, we have the ability to help support healing, not just in our generation, but in the generations to come and for those who came before us. So one of the things I want to mention, because this has been something that I've really had to learn on my own journey, my own healing journey, is that when we're doing something new, because it's something that the brain isn't used to, can often create discomfort. And so learning how to sit with, how to be with discomfort is really important. I'm going to invite you to do a sort of a silly thing with me, but this will give you a sense of give you a bit of a sense of it. So if you have your arms crossed, I invite you to uncross your arms and just sort of shake them out a little bit. And then go ahead and cross your arms. And as you cross your arms, notice what arm is on top, your right or your left. Okay, and so go ahead and shake your arms out again. And now cross them so the other arm is on top. And so just, what did you notice? You know, I'm guessing some of you probably noticed, like, first of all, when I first told you to cross your arms, did you have to think about it? Not the first times, automatic. We cross our arms all the time. But when I asked you to cross them the other way, the way that you're not used to doing it, probably had to think about it. Once you probably did it, it probably felt uncomfortable. Like, this doesn't feel right. I want to go back to the way that I know, right? So that's the kind of discomfort that's probably going to come up again and again as we're trying to wire in new things. It's going to feel not quite right. It's going to feel, oh, I don't like this, right? But the more that we can remember that we're trying to do this new thing over and over again to wire in those new neural pathways, I think that can help us to be with the discomfort a little bit easier. So I just wanted to put that out there. Discomfort is part of the learning process. And so I'm going to talk in this video much more about how do we support these four parts of who we are, our body, heart, mind, and spirit. I'm going to share some things that I've learned that have been supportive. And although certain practices can be more helpful for certain parts, all of these practices can positively influence other parts of us. So for example, we often think of exercise as something that we do for our physical body and well-being. But exercise, when we exercise, it also produces biochemicals in the brain, such as dopamine, which is a natural feel-good chemical, so that impacts our emotional state. It also produces serotonin, which is a mood stabilizer, which impacts our emotional state. And it also releases noradrenaline, which helps the brain to focus, it helps with memory, it helps with learning. So physical activity also supports our brain. So again, I'm going to share some specific practices. Some of these I'm going to mention in multiple parts because they are really impactful in all of these parts. But I want to just throw that out there too. Our mind, body, heart, and spirit are so interconnected. It can be a little bit hard to tease them apart, but there are practices that can be most supportive for these different parts of us. And the last thing I want to mention before I go into some of these, and we're going to be doing some practices as well, is I want to recognize that for some of the things that I'm going to share that help support ourselves, it might require money, time, other resources. And so I recognize that though for those of us that have access to these things, it can be a privilege. Not everyone might not have access to some of these things. And so my hope is that we can begin to like co-create communities where everyone has access to these things, regardless of ability to pay or anything like that, because these are things, practices that support our whole well-being, body, heart, mind, and spirit. And the more healthy and well our community members are, the more healthy and well the larger community is. So I just wanted to sort of put that out there. So we're going to start by talking about the body. So for supporting the body, there are some really simple things that we can do. One of them is getting good rest. Getting good sleep is essential for the body to be able to do what it needs to do, to have the energy, to be able to make repairs in the body and all of those things. A lot of that happens at night when we're sleeping. I'll mention it now just so I don't forget it later. It also, when we sleep, we have to sleep at least 4 hours before our lymph system can be able to clear out the brain. So it like washes the brain in this lymphatic fluid, which helps to clear out what they're calling plaque that's in the brain. And that plaque buildup is connected with things like dementia. So sleep is essential for the body. It's also essential for the mind. So on average, the average adult needs between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. So if you're getting regularly less than that, it might be worth thinking about how might you be able to increase not just the amount of sleep that you're getting, but the quality of sleep that you're getting. So doing things like shutting off screens at least an hour before bed, sleeping in a really dark room, sleeping in rooms that are cooler rather than warm. Our bodies sleep better when we're in colder environments. So those are some ways that we can improve our sleep. Another really important thing for supporting the body is nutrition and hydration. And again, I recognize like healthy nutrition and can be hard to access because healthy foods tend to be more expensive than a lot of the high processed, high sugar, high carbohydrate foods that are available in convenience forms and things like that. But good nutrition and hydration is essential. One of the things I want to mention about the nutrition piece is that I talked about serotonin, which is a mood stabilizer. And so 80 to 90% of this serotonin is produced in our GI tract. And so what we eat impacts our body's ability to produce serotonin, to utilize serotonin. I'll mention this quickly too with it. When we take things like antibiotics that like kill all of the flora fauna in our systems, it can really impact our moods because it impacts our body's ability to produce serotonin. So doing things like eating prebiotics, probiotics, all those types of things are supportive after you've had to take antibiotics. So just want to mention that as well. Another thing that can be incredibly supportive for the body, and there's really solid research on this, in addition to the fact that our ancestors for most of human existence naturally had to do this because we didn't have access to grocery stores, is fasting. And so things like intermittent fasting can be supportive. I think I'd mentioned in the last video that digestion takes a lot of energy. So when we're constantly digesting food, it means that our body can't use that energy to like make repairs or other things like that. So when we can fast, for whether it be 12 hours or 24 hours, sometimes even 2 or 3 days can totally reset the whole body. And then from there, then if you like move into eating healthier foods, it just it helps to reset the immune system, reset the body. It's really good. If you're interested, look up more information on fasting. And like I said, our ancestors inadvertently had to do it on and off as food, was scarce or available or not or things like that. So So our human bodies are used to that from hundreds of thousands of years versus the last 100 years where we've had access to food pretty much when we want it. Or what. Another one, and I had mentioned already, is exercise. Physical activity, and even somatic work. So things like yoga, somatic practices, massage, singing, dancing, all of those can be really, really powerful ways to begin to like move some of that stuck energy that's stored in the body specifically. And so anyone who's done any sort of like yoga or somatic work, massage, sometimes people will be in the middle of it and suddenly something gets released and they have a big emotional response. That is not only normal, it's really good. That means that the wisdom of your body knew that it was safe and ready to release that energy. And so again, like having people that can be supportive when those things happen and understand what's happening when you're doing somatic work or yoga work or massage or other things like that is really important. So that's where things like trauma-informed yoga, trauma-informed massage, all of that comes into play. Another thing that's really supportive for the body, which we started with the practice, was doing body scans. So our body is constantly talking to us, letting us know what it needs, letting us know how we can support it. And so learning how to tune into the language of the body can help us know, when are we really hungry? When are we thirsty? When do we need rest? All of those things that when we're not tuned into the body, we can just sort of like full steam ahead and blow through our body screaming at us to slow down and rest, which then of course leads to disease or illness or other things like that. So tuning it regularly into the body through body scans can be super supportive for the body and getting back into connection with our body. Grounding outside is also a real, I know it can be a little bit challenging in Minnesota in certain times of the year to ground outside, but there's, again, like, this is something innately that we know and many of us have experienced, but also there's now good research around it, around the importance and power of grounding. So the earth has its own sort of energetic field, and it has more what's called like negative ions that the earth releases. A lot of the technology and stuff that we use is releasing lots of positive ions. And so our body is imbalanced with too many positive ions and not enough negative ones. In part because we live in buildings and houses that keep us disconnected from that energy. But we also walk around with shoes that have rubber on the bottom of that make that impossible for that energy to come up and through our body. Whereas like our ancestors wore leather shoes or went barefoot, so they were constantly able to be in relationship with that energy of the earth. So taking your shoes off, just placing your feet on the ground, laying out a blanket and just laying your whole body on the ground for even a couple minutes can really help reset the nervous system, reset the body, get in more of those negative ions to help balance your system out a little bit more. I just can't say enough about grounding. It's just so good, and it's accessible to anybody. And then the last one that I'll share is breath work. So in the previous video, we did soft belly breathing. There's another breath practice that I do regularly. It's by someone named Wim Hof. So he has videos online that you can just Google Wim Hof, H-O-F, and video, and you can pull up a beginner video. It's a little bit intense, but it's a way to be able to activate the wisdom of the body, improve our immune system, focus the brain. It's such a powerful breath practice. And I'm going to share a different breath practice with you now. This one is super simple, but also really effective. It's called the physiological sigh. And so I'm going to invite you to do it with me. We'll do 3 rounds of it. And the physiological sigh is, I'll demonstrate it first, and then we'll do it together. So it's a big breath in, another breath in. Okay, so breath in, another breath, and then just let it out. So we'll go ahead, breath in, out. And do that again, breath in, out. Let's do that one more time together. Breath in, physiological sigh. So that also is really supportive for the body. Now I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about some things that we can do to support the mind. One of my most important practices has been practicing mindfulness, and bringing myself back into the present moment. And so mindfulness, there's lots of different practices around this, but mindfulness can literally be done doing anything. Washing the dishes, really paying attention to what does the water feel like on my hands? What is the temperature? What does the plate feel like? What is the texture? What is the weight? Bringing as much awareness to what you're doing in that moment. Chopping veggies, reading to your kids, driving a car. Hopefully most of us are doing that as mindfully as possible. But literally anything you do, when you really bring your awareness to what's happening, what do things feel like, what do they smell like, what do they taste like, what are they, all of those things, helps you to build awareness. And in that awareness then, the power of that is when something happens and I have awareness, I can choose how I want to respond to it. But if I don't have awareness and something happens, remember the prediction brain, I go into my automatic responses, fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, right? I go into the automatic thing, the program in my mind. And so mindfulness and awareness practices help us to offset that. Another one is sleep. I had mentioned sleep is essential for the brain to be able to clear out the plaque. It's essential for us to be able to focus, for learning. If we don't get good rest, we often end up with brain fog and other things that make it hard for us to be able to think and to learn. Good nutrition, fasting, I talk some about that with the body, but it's also super supportive for the mind. Anyone who's ever done an extended fast, once the initial craving to eat sort of goes away after day 2 or even day 3, for me, I notice my mind really focused. It's easy for me to get stuff done because my brain is flowing on all cylinders. So fasting can be really supportive for the brain, as is good nutrition. Exercise and physical activity, we talked about that and how it releases norepinephrine, which helps with focus, memory, learning, things like that. We're going to do a practice that is connected to, and I probably should have done it in the mindfulness one, but that's connected to the present moment awareness. This is a super simple practice. And again, a lot of times especially when we feel activated by something, our brain goes into the future or we go into the past, anywhere but here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a practice that brings us back into our body. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this practice now. So we're going to start by, I'm going to invite you to notice 5 things that you feel. So maybe it's the sensation of a piece of clothing on you, or maybe you can feel the temperature of the air. Maybe you can feel the support of the chair you're sitting on or the floor. Maybe you're noticing internal sensations in the body. Maybe you're hungry, your stomach's growling, or maybe you can feel your heart beating. So what are 5 things that you feel? We're going to sort of look around our space and notice 4 things that you see. So what are 4 things that you see? And as you look at them, really noticing what is the shape? What's the texture? What's the color? Noticing as much as you can about the 4 things that you see. So I'll give you a little bit of time to look around your space. We're gonna tune in now to 3 things that we hear. So what are 3 things that you hear? And bringing your awareness now to 2 things that you smell. This one might be a little bit harder depending on how long it was since you last ate or drank something, but 1 thing that you taste. That's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Grounding outside, which I mentioned, is also really good for the mind, as is breath work. So soft belly breathing, physiological sigh, Wim Hof, all of those help to regulate the nervous system and sort of bring the brain, we talked earlier about the handy model of the brain in the previous video, helps us to, Dan Siegel says, hug our amygdala, bring this prefrontal cortex back online. Breath work can be really supportive for that. Ways to support our heart. Heart-centered meditations are a great way to do this. And so heart-centered meditations are just sitting, maybe placing both hands over your heart, and breathing as you're breathing into the heart space, bringing in the emotions of gratitude, joy, love, and maybe thinking about a person, a place, an experience that really evokes that emotion in you. And as you feel that emotion come in, using your breath to grow that regenerative emotion throughout your body. Those emotions of love, gratitude, and joy are really, really supportive for the body. So heart-centered meditations are great for the heart. Grounding outside, connecting with nature, expression for emotions. There's lots of ways to express emotions in healthy ways. With and without other people. But some ways without would be like music, creating music, listening to music, singing, dancing, drawing, painting, writing. These are all ways that we can express what's going on for us in healthy ways. Connecting with others, supportive others, so whether that's other humans, or it might be pets, or it might be nature, right? So those people, those non-humans that feel really supportive for you, taking that time to go and sit with that support when you're feeling a lot of emotional energy moving. And then the last one that I'll share is gratitude practices. I had mentioned in the first video how we all have this negativity bias for survival. A great way to offset that is gratitude practices. There's lots of different ways you can practice gratitude. One would be writing down 3 good things before bed, and what your role in that was. So like a beautiful sunset, my role is I actually stopped to notice it, right? I didn't create it, but I actually took the time to stop and notice it. You can write letters of gratitude. There's lots of different gratitude practices, so I'd invite you to explore that a little bit. And then supporting the spirit. So again, things like grounding outside. There's something called forest bathing. It's there's some interesting research around that, how supportive, like that energy exchange with trees and with nature, and how supportive that is for us, mind, body, heart, and spirit. Journaling, intuitive writing. So using a prompt like, what does my spirit want me to know today? And just journaling on that. Intuitive inquiry might be like maybe if you have a decision to make. This is something that I've been doing more and more, tuning into my inner wisdom and intuition. If I have a decision to make on something, I'll think about like option A and pause and tune in. Like, do I feel expansion when I think of that? Do I feel contraction? Do I feel a yes in my body? Do I feel a no in my body? So again, tuning into how our spirit can speak through sensations in the body. And then going with option B and tuning in and noticing, do I feel expansion, contraction, yes, no? And if you don't get a yes or a no, then maybe what your intuition is telling you is wait before you make a decision. You're not quite ready yet. So again, like tuning into that intuitive wisdom, tuning into how the spirit is connected to the body in that. Prayer and meditation, of course, are super supportive for the spirit, as is connecting with a spiritual family. However you define that, whatever your beliefs around that are, connecting with others who have similar spiritual beliefs, understandings, are going to be able to support you in those ways. So we're going to close with another practice. We'll just do this for a minute or so, and this is awareness of the mind. So we've done awareness of the body with the body scan. We're going to close with awareness of the mind. And so just inviting you, again, eyes open or closed, whatever feels best for you, but just being able to really bring your awareness inward. And as we're noticing thoughts, we're seeing if we can notice them without hopping on the thought train. So how do we notice the thoughts, sort of like a cloud passing by in the sky or a leaf floating down the river, right? We notice the thought and then we let it go. And then we notice the next thought. And just becoming aware of the state of the mind in this moment. Are thoughts coming in and out really quickly, a bit like popcorn? Are they slow, coming in one and then another? There are multiple thoughts coming in, just bringing as much of your awareness to thought, to the mind as you can, and just observing. Sort of seeing yourself as a spectator, so to speak, sitting in a theater, watching thoughts cross the screen in front of you. Letting go of awareness of thought and bringing yourself back. And so I love awareness of mind too, because it can remind us that we are not our thoughts. Sometimes our thoughts can be so big and so just pulling us in that we sort of forget that we are not our thoughts. We're not the things that we're thinking. And so when we can sort of pull our awareness out, we remember that we are spirits having thoughts. We're spirits in human bodies having human thoughts, having human experiences, human emotions. So awareness of mind. I hope you continue to explore and get curious about some of the practices that I shared and see how they're supportive for your mind, body, heart, and spirit.